number 4, which is presentation of petitions, which we haven't got any of. Okay, so now we will move on to number 5, which is the one of the day. Main South Road, Riccarton, Yaldhurst intersection improvements. Now, what you see on the screen and what... Oh, hang on. Yes. Now, how do I do this, Mary?
So they're just going to put them up now.
Yeah.
So
Is it done?
Yeah, we've got a new one from... Who's moving it? You gentlemen? Tyler's moving it, Mark's seconding it, of a variation there for putting out traffic signals 3, which is what it is, which you've all seen the picture, or traffic signals 4. Now, I've got an amendment from Sarah who would like to add in, this is going out for consultation, these two, is that right? Add in the original one to go out for consultation as well. One's nodding and one's shaking. The seconder isn't. So that means we'll have to put that, will we?
yeah.
Okay. So would you just like to highlight what?
Debate, questions and debate first.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Do we need the presentation? Because that's a lot of... Anyone want the presentation?
I think it would be
Just into questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire away with the presentation.
Tēnā koutou. So we'll assume the report's been read. This is just a quick brief overview as to where we're at. The staff recommended option A in the report looks to eliminate the risk of a crash involving right turning vehicles from Main South Road, given the crash history and the frequency of the crashes of a specific crash type occurring. It also includes a pedestrian and cycle crossing as per the notice of motion that was passed by the Hornswell-Hornby Riccarton Community Board. The report also included option B, which wasn't recommended, which did retain the right turn and manage the risk of the crash involving those right turning vehicles. And it also included the pedestrian cycle crossing as per the notice of motion. Traffic signals were not originally proposed when we went back out this time, when we went out for consultation this time last year, where we had the full cul-de-sac option. The option originally eliminated all the risk of crashes involving turning traffic from Main South Road and provided the additional benefits for public space and for people walking and cycling. There would be minimal delay for traffic, including buses travelling on the main road, which is Yaldhurst to Riccarton and back again. It included a zebra crossing on a raised safer speed platform for people to cross Yaldhurst Road because we didn't have any turning traffic from Main South. It was a simpler layout. And at the time, the additional costs associated with traffic signals. Now we are considering traffic signals. It's looking to manage the risk for road users, particularly those turning right from Main South Road. It does introduce some delays to traffic, including buses travelling along Riccarton and Yaldhurst and back again. But the changes we've made to the scheme that you see in options 3 and 4, it has been value engineered. It's very down to what's essential to get in there. So the cost difference between what we went out with in the original cul-de-sac option and what you see in options 3 and 4 is about the same in terms of costs. So traffic signal plan 3, which is a signalised seagull, manages the risk of right turning crashes because you can only turn right when you get a green light. The eastbound traffic will only stop when the crossing is activated, so you still have to do the merge between if you want to travel down Hanson's Lane and for those right turning vehicles wanting to access Waimarie Road. There's a staggered crossing, which does introduce some delay for people crossing rather than a straight through crossing. And 2 trees do need to be removed. They are still subject to an assessment by an arborist. We just haven't got around to getting that bit finished. Traffic signal plan 4 is effectively a full signalisation. It manages the risk of the right turning crashes, again, similar to traffic signal plan 3. The eastbound traffic does not need to merge or cross, so it simplifies the whole layout at that location and reduces that crash risk in addition to the other crash risk at the intersection. Pedestrian and cycle movements are simplified. There's just one stage crossing, and the small section of bus lane allows easier access into and out of the bus stop on the north side. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Is there a way for us to, through this consultation, move towards or consult on removing the 3 islands that have appeared in front of Countdown?
So we can look to take feedback on those. We weren't specifically going to ask a question. It was just going to be whether you preferred this option or this option. But I do understand that we will receive feedback on those islands anyway. And given that we will be if we signalise the whole option, that actually we could just reinstate both the left lane down to Main South and have the right turn, because that the issue currently of when you're turning right out, you're looking that way, you can't and you don't understand where people are going. Now that you're held on a red signal and you can only proceed on green, that risk is removed with the full signalisation.
Very good. And another question too is around the fences to help manage the pedestrian movements. Is there a way we can build that into this plan and consultation? Because that's something which obviously you've heard this morning from deputations that the community are aware of and thinking it's not a silly idea.
If we're looking at option 3 and 4, we're not actually looking to do any works east of the intersection, and that's just to try and keep the cost down. So we'd leave that as is. What we would propose, if one of those options went ahead, we would monitor it, and if needed, we could come back at a later date and install fencing. And just to confirm on your previous question as well, Councillor, we would bring something back to the board about those islands as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Just being that we only got these sort of yesterday, just so a few questions here. The original design and the staff recommendation, the staff recommendation one, that would fit within the current budget?
Yes.
Yeah. And so the fully signalised one with the traffic signals, how much more expensive is that?
So it's just looking at the figures, it's pretty much some extra traffic signal poles and ducting, and with a couple of extra weeks of traffic management. So I'd say about 150,000 more.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you. And do we know if there's anything that would be dropped for that amount of money? So within the safety budget, so $100,000 might do a couple of different pedestrian refuges or crossings around the city. So do we know what would get dropped off the bottom of the list from which wards and things for that?
So it's my understanding that the Stephen will be going around the community boards in the next month or two, outlining what the safety program looks like for the next 3 years.
We shouldn't think it would have a
huge impact.
Spending a bit more here shouldn't have a massive impact on the overall budget, because we do allow a bit of float.
Oh yeah, I know, but it does mean that we could do less in other wards if this happens. Is that right? Safety
Potentially,
things.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And you've talked about the delays for buses, but it's actually delays for, if we put the traffic lights in, it's delays for all traffic, isn't it? So do we know how much those delays might be for regular road users?
So the modelling that we've done over the past week, the delays aren't significant. It's probably around, I think it was 11 seconds, and the difference between options, traffic signal plan 3 and traffic signal plan 4, is about 3 seconds. So in terms of 4, where everyone stops to allow the right turn out, it doesn't create huge extra delays over traffic signal plan 3.
Okay.
But yes, in stopping traffic to allow the right turn out, there will be some delays for all traffic.
Cool. Thanks.
With the islands Mark was talking about, so they were decided at the community board meeting, is that right? So they kind of made a mistake, is it what the gist is?
It wasn't a mistake. It was more that the initial design proposed would require them more than signals would. By signalising it, we're removing the issue that those islands were trying to address.
I see. Right, okay. Look, I'm going to ask a really dense question. With number 4, so there's just one set of traffic lights going across to the medical centre, isn't it? Quite hard to actually read the maps. It's a pedestrian. Where are the traffic lights? Is my question.
There isn't a clicker. So where the blue limit lines are for traffic is where you would see a traffic signal pole. So if you're travelling west, is there a clickery thing, Sam? Okay.
Because there's blue lines all over the show. I should have asked yesterday.
Okay.
Perfect.
Fancy. So there would be traffic signals here, there would be traffic signals here, and there would be traffic signals over here. So the left turn from Main South Road's just on a give way slip lane that you see at other intersections. So this traffic would be held on a red light while traffic's going east and west along Riccarton and Yaldhurst. And then when these right turners need to go, they will stop, and the pedestrian crossing can work at the same time because there's no conflicting traffic.
Can you explain number 3?
Sure. I'll give it a go. So for 3, there's traffic lights here, here, and here. However, only these 2 kind of work together. So eastbound traffic will still be able to come through here unless a pedestrian calls this crossing. So they can keep going, and then the right turners from here can come out here and do the crossover that a lot of people try to do to get from Main South to Waimari and from Yaldhurst to Hanson's. So at that time, this traffic will stop. So when that right turn goes, again, this part of the pedestrian crossing can go, but these will only get a chance when they push the button and wait, and then that's when that traffic has to stop.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yep, that's super
Okay.
helpful. That's good.
So we heard from a number of submitters today that they didn't see this as a priority and that there were other intersections that had a greater need for safety intervention. I just want to be really clear, where does this one rank in terms of our priority of dangerous intersections?
So this one does sit in the top 3%. It's not in the top 1%, but the issue at this intersection is that reoccurring crash type. So at no other intersection have we had 76 crashes involving right turning vehicles. So it's the consistency of the crash type that's happened over 10 years, which is why we've got the focus at this location here.
Right,
and
sorry,
we have had 3 serious ones.
Can you just help me understand, like we heard not just the 1 or the 3%,
Yep.
but in terms of the list of intersections that are on our priority list, is this 10, is it 11, is it 113? Where does it sit in terms of the intersections, in terms of our priority list? Not as percentage, but actually as a number?
It was in the original report. I believe it sits at around 1, 2. I thought it was in the report. I will confirm it, but it sits more around the 120, 130 mark than other intersections.
Right. So what other intersections are a higher priority that aren't funded are on our list?
I would have to get that list for you and send it through.
Well, it's a bit like to Sarah's point though. If there's other intersections that are actually a higher priority on our list and they're not currently funded, and we're going to go out and consult on options that cost more and mean that less will get done in terms of priority, then I think it's kind of important that we know that.
Through the chair, councillor, what Gemma is trying to explain here, and what the point of difference for this intersection is, nearly all the crashes involve exactly the same type of movement. We may have other intersections which may rank higher statistically, but the crashes are more varied and random, so it's actually harder to deal with them all. Whereas here, there's such a consistent issue that we can actually deal to that issue quite cleanly.
Okay. Are you able just to give us an understanding if the post-construction safety audit has been done of the works that were mentioned by submitters that were referred to creating a more dangerous environment?
So the post-construction safety audit will be undertaken next week. We're just finishing the road marking this week, and the signals commissioning needs to be done as well. So at the minute, the traffic signals aren't being optimised because the loops haven't been connected, and the safety issue with the islands, we have been monitoring it. We are getting better behaviour in terms of indicating, but there is still and people are slowing to do the merge, but it is still new. So as soon as that audit comes through, we will look to do any intermediate kind of issues. Hopefully, if we get approval for the final option this side of Christmas, we would like to build it early next year, and then we could remove the islands if that's part
And just
of the
the
plan.
final question from me is, some submitters have said they've questioned why we would even spend money on this, and I get the rationale that you've put forward to us. But I guess what I was interested in is to understand, how do we at a governance level choose the priorities for these program budgets? Like, did we make a specific resolution to put this as a project in the long-term plan? Or is there, like, how does this project just start at a governance level? Where's the first point that we approve that the money allocated should be spent on this specific location?
So that comes through, this project is being funded through the Minor Road Safety Program, which is a line item in the long-term plan. That gets kind of pulled together through two main routes. The high-risk intersections is through what we call the pipeline development tool that Wakakotahi developed, and we worked through a staff to come up with the intersections that need to be looked at from a high-risk perspective. And then also we get a lot of requests and feedback from the community. So they all go into a big list, the ones that the community submit on. And Steve will talk about this more when he comes around the board, but ultimately it's prioritised on risk, equity, access, and one more. And then that list will be coming around to the boards for the next 3 years shortly, and then you can all have your say on whether you think it's right or if you want
Sorry, just to be clear, because
Okay, mate.
you've got...
There's a line
So you
item
didn't
there.
make a specific
line item.
delegation on it.
And
Yeah.
you did say fondly.
No, yeah, I know, but just in terms of the previous question, what I was trying to understand at a governance level, at our level, when do we sign off on what projects go on that list?
It's a through the chair, as we
thank you, Stephen.
highlighted yesterday through the annual plan workshop. At a program level, we prioritise those programs based on the criteria Gemma's mentioned. We will be coming around the boards to seek feedback on that program and prioritisation, and there will be some allowance for movement in there, and we have to allow that for lots of reasons. But ultimately, we prioritise the programs based on the data that we have.
So it's a staff
Thank you.
decision.
Yes.
Thank you. Aaron.
Yeah, so two quick questions. First one is, and Yanni did ask it, but one of the submitters said that the intersection's ranked at 161, so that's not correct.
That's not correct. It is slightly higher than that. It's probably around the 130, but I can send that information.
Yeah,
after
just an update. It's not it's that relative. Now the other one is, and it's probably more to the mayor. In our options, since we're going out for consultation, and it's been raised by a number of the submitters that they don't like any of the options, can we have do nothing as an option to the public, since we're open and transparent and take in all ideas? We could still ignore it if that's the majority that comes back, but can that be in the consultation document?
That would be, well, status quo or do nothing's always an option for council. In terms of the consultation document, that's similar to Sarah's motion, is that she wants a additional one, which is staff recommendation. You'd need to add in an option.
So I need to do an amendment for that, just to give the public, I'm not saying that's my choice, but it sounded like that was coming from some of the people. So if they have that as an option, it'll be good to know if that's the feedback we get.
Your one is do nothing.
Yeah, I do. Heward Breen's Gardens intersection, but you've constantly voted against it. So.
Yep, righto. Okay, Samuel.
Can I just correct that? Actually, Jake and I both voted in favour of the Brains Hewers lights, and I'm really quite
Can I raise the correction?
grumpy
No, you didn't many
out
times.
at
Okay,
this information.
steady on. Sam, you.
It's still 12 months away, people. The look, I just have one question, which is hearing the feedback, and I guess if we think through the process of how we've got to this point, the board have referred it to council. Given we've been able to steady the ship, so to speak, can we just send the final decision back to the community board? So can't we do the consultation and send it back?
Through the chair, because this is a signalised intersection, it would need to come to. If it was decided that it was going to be a signalised intersection, that would be a decision for council anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. So just that's fine. Completely get that. So then, how do we in the future, and maybe it's something we can take away as a team and have a think about, how do we ensure that we have all the options on the table? Because if they're limited at community boards being, or what you're saying is community board could have recommended traffic lights if they'd asked for it, but it would still need to come to council for a decision.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Cool. So we can't send it back. Okay.
Happy? Victoria? Christmas is coming.
Thank you, Mr. Head. Can I just double back to something that Councillor McDonald's asked, because we've had the issue in relation to Cranford Street in our ward. So if it's a light signalised and it has to come to council, does that mean that some of the options will be decisions made by the community board and a component of the decision will be made by council? So is it going to be a split decision?
Correct. Yeah, the signalisation part would always be a council decision on recommendation by the community board.
Yeah, okay, thanks. The second issue I want to raise actually is doubling back to something that Councillor Johansson asked. Can you help me understand, please, the sequencing and timing of the safety audits? Did I hear you say that actually you haven't completed the safety audits yet, and so we're looking at options to go out for consultation, but we haven't seen the safety audits? Is that normal practice?
So in this instance, in terms of what's been done to date, everything has been through safety audit. We have only just finished construction on site, but we're still finishing construction on site to get the post-construction one done. In terms of the signal ones in here, they will go through a safety audit while we're out for consultation. It's been through a traffic signal design review initial by professional engineers. So we are comfortable with the current designs. We've highlighted the risks for the two options, especially traffic signal plan 3, which does still have that outstanding risk related to the merge. But we will get those safety audits done by the time it comes back to council for a decision.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Sarah? Done. Tyler, please.
Kia ora, team. Good to see you. I've got a few questions. The first one, if we're able to talk about the prevalence of T-bone crashes, on top of your head, how many other instances do you have those kinds of intersections within the city? Such a frequency of T-bones within the city. Is there any other intersections that are similar to that?
I'm not aware of the same level of crash type at any other intersection.
Great. So it's quite an anomaly to see such a frequent amount of T-bone crashes within this intersection. Yes. Great. The next question is, we had some community groups from outside of the area come in and give some deputations just earlier on. And they were talking about the culture of drivers, talking about bad drivers and say they'll get frustrated and make bad decisions. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on what you think they might be talking about, and how are you trying to mitigate that in terms of trying to, I guess, slow down the prevalence of bad driving instances to mitigate crashes?
I think in this situation, it's a relatively unusual and complex layout, and that leads to, or can lead to, poor decision making, and that's probably one of the big contributing factors to the crashes that are occurring. So by removing those complications on the road, you're going to remove the potential for those crashes to happen. Signalising it manages those crashes, or manages the risks. It doesn't remove the risk; it manages it. And by giving people a red and green signal, that makes it a lot clearer. It removes that complication. So hopefully, it should lead to a much better outcome.
No, that's great. And Crystal, this might be for you. I just wanted to talk about the local voices that are going to be involved. If the alternative recommendation did go through with traffic signals 3 and 4 alongside Sarah's amendment, what's the consultation process look like through the next fortnight?
Yeah, so we'd look to go out to consultation as soon as we could get it up, and we'd share it with all the groups who've previously communicated with us about this project. So that includes anyone who's come to make deputations as well. and obviously the local community, so the local schools and shops and users of the intersection. We expect that it will probably take care of itself in terms of promotions. There's quite a lot of interest in the consultation, so we'll make sure that it gets out there.
Great, thank you so much. And the last question was on comparison for traffic signals 3 and 4. Are you going to bring forward, I guess, the risks and the advantages and disadvantages of each intersection throughout the consultation paper?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They will be available online with plans to say what the advantages and disadvantages of each option are. We can include the costs of the different options. There isn't a huge variation, but the 2 traffic signal ones are slightly more expensive than the staff recommended option A.
Sure. And if we're looking at the status quo, what people are talking about, of doing nothing, I mean, there are risks within doing that too, correct? Which
Correct.
means changing nothing, therefore continuing the instance of T-bone crashes.
Correct.
Yeah, great, thanks.
We have 2 questions and then we have 15 minutes break. Okay, so we have Melanie and then Mark, and then we're having a break.
For cyclists going along Riccarton, then going into Yaldhurst Road, where the cars are turning, continuing along Main South Road, they're going to be crossing over them basically. Is there nothing in these options really seems to mitigate that? Is there a way of incorporating that in somehow? Because
Correct. So through the safety audit process on the staff recommended option A, it was raised as an issue, and we added some coloured surfacing. It's not a expensive solution, but hopefully in marking out the cycle lane with that colour, that people will be more conscious that people will be travelling straight through and not all turning left. However, I think, and through Councillor Harrison Hunt, we have received feedback that it would probably be useful to sit down maybe with some people who ride their bikes through here to understand how they use it, how they feel using it, and what other options we could consider for safer crossing movements for people on their bikes.
Yeah.
So we can do that through the consultation process.
awesome.
No matter what option is picked ever, they're always going to do that.
I know. That's why we want to mitigate it through this process.
And lastly, Mark, please.
Thank you. I'm right if I point out that NZTA were upgrading their next intersection up, weren't they? When
They
this all
were
started?
going to, yes.
Yep, and that's no longer happening.
No longer happening. It involved race safety platforms, which are no longer funded by the agency.
And we've got lots of platforms in these proposals.
Correct.
In,
So they're a traffic management solution for reducing the severity and likelihood of crashes. There isn't any funding to support those. However, as a road controlling authority, it's still your kind of decision to put them in or not based on staff advice.
just getting back to the Councillor Coker's query there about cyclists, they have to obey the traffic signal as well, don't they?
Everyone has to obey
So
traffic
they
signals.
can't just go
yes.
through the red, putting themselves at risk.
Correct.
So that's comforting to hear. And then just thinking about intersections in general, seeing how it's so dangerous to travel through intersections without, and having regular crashes, should it perhaps we close all intersections in Christchurch to mitigate crashes at intersections?
No, stuff. Right, we're having a cup.
Question.
We're having a cup of tea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
We need to ask Tyler and Mark whether they're
Yeah, we're going to be on.
on.
So we'll go 11:20.
Excuse me.